Hi guys, welcome to another episode of Rock Bottom Airsoft. It's good to see you again. If it's your first time here, then as always, it is good to see you, and I hope you're going to stick around. Okay, well, welcome to our midweek video. And those of you who follow the channel already know that I normally upload 2 videos a week. One midweek, normally on a Wednesday, and one at the weekend, normally on a Saturday. Now, unfortunately, I don't have any gameplay footage to show you today, which is what we normally have midweek. So I thought we'd do another studio video. What we're doing today is, guys, one of my friends, one of my followers over on Facebook, because you can find Rock Bottom Airsoft on Facebook and Instagram as well, was asking about one of the replicas that I show a lot in some of my photographs. If I'm doing staged photographs, I tend to show this replica in it a few times because it does look pretty cool in photos. So I thought we'd have a look at a replica today. You'll probably know from the thumbnail what it is. I will say that for a gas blowback rifle, this is a really, really, really cheap replica. And as you might discover from what we're going to say here, it's too cheap, guys. Rather than being affordable, I would class it as cheap because, well, I'm not very impressed. So let's go through what it is anyway. Let's get it out. Okay, here it is. If you do follow the channel on Facebook or Instagram, you've probably seen this in some photos. The photos usually involve me with my ghillie and my gas mask or something along those lines. Because it looks kind of cool in the photos. A couple of disclaimers to make before we go through what it is. Do not worry that if you were to buy one of these, it does not come looking like this. I bought this pre-owned off one of my friends at my home site, Tazball Airsoft, because I thought it did look cool. He did a really good job at, well, aging it and making it look a bit, I don't know what you call it. I suppose you'd call it survivalist, like it's been through the wars, got a bit of damage, got a bit of dirt. So it has been painted to look like it does here, guys. So yours, if you get one, would come in all black. So what are we looking at before I rab it on? It won't look like this. It'll be this colour. It'll be all black, just like that there. This is a WELL G74B. That is a replica. As you can probably tell, the replica is modelled on an AK74. If you're into your firearm stuff, then you would probably know that the AK74 was what came along after the AK47. It was like the newer version that the Soviet Army used, and it fired a smaller cartridge. Instead of firing the 7.62 by 39, which the AK47 is famous for, this firearm version of this would have fired the 5.45 by 39, so slightly smaller caliber round, and it was in use for many years. It was used in the Afghanistan conflict for the Russians, and around 1979, that's when it first saw use. Here in the airsoft world, we can get lots of replicas of AK-74s, and if it was me personally, I would get any replica of an AK-74 other than this one. This one is particularly bad, but we'll go through it as we always go through it. So before we get into pricings for it and things like that, I think we'll do what we always do, and that is we'll have a quick look round it. So bear with me, and we'll have a quick look round, and then we'll have a chat about it. Okay? Okay guys, well, there we go. We've had a quick look around it. As you can probably agree, guys, it certainly looks the part. There's no arguments there. Now, if you guys were fancying one of these, we'll get back to the main attraction, I would say, about this replica. Obviously, it's gas blowback, so you guys into the gas blowback will know that means that very realistic, just like the real thing. You have to cock it to charge it, and then you pull the trigger. Don't worry, guys, I've made sure that this magazine is purged of gas and BBs, and we're pointing in a safe direction. But as you can see, as with the real AK, very realistic. You've got to cock it, charge it, select a switch, obviously works like it would on the real thing, and you've got a proper trigger group. So one of the big attractions of this is it is a gas blowback rifle. A gas blowback rifle is about as realistic as you can get in the airsoft world. You don't get much more realism than gas blowback. Realistic round counts. Obviously you get recoil like you would with a gas blowback pistol. This will charge in this bolt, should I say, the mop bolt. This is going to fly back and forth, so every time you fire, that's going to be slamming back and forth, which gives you a bit of recoil, just to make a bit more realism. So that's a big attraction of it, guys, that it is gas blowback. Also, it's very, very cheap, guys, for a gas blowback. If you've ever looked into gas blowback rifles, one of the reasons I don't do a lot on gas blowback rifles is because, one, I'm not an expert on them, guys. I'm more AEGs and electric stuff. Do like my gas blowback pistols, but for rifles, they tend to be a little bit out of my price range for what we focus on here on the channel. We tend to look more of affordable side of airsoft, and gas blowback is certainly not affordable, guys. Even if you can get a gas blowback rifle for an affordable amount, the magazines are more expensive. You've got to use green gas. It can get pricey, guys, running gas blowback. However, you can do it affordably if you want to get into gas blowback, and that's something we maybe touch on at a later time. But if you're doing milsims or something where you want the epitome of realism, or if you're practicing weapon drills or that kind of thing, then gas blowbacks are ideal, guys, because they are about as realistic as you're going to get in the airsoft world. So that's gas blowback. Now this gas blowback, as we just mentioned, gas blowback is not cheap. But this replica is really cheap. Now, if you're over in the United States, if you're lucky enough to be over in America there, in the States, you will be able to pick one of these up. Believe it or not, guys, I saw one of these for as cheap as $106. Now, $106 for a gas blowback rifle, that is seriously cheap, guys. I think the highest price one of these I found was at Airsoft GI, and that was for $180, which is still very, very cheap for a gas blowback rifle, as you can probably agree. Now, those prices, I'm not going to link it in the description, guys, because this is not a replica I would recommend. So if you do want one, there is a few suppliers in the States you can get them from. As I say, Airsoft GI is one of them. But the other suppliers I looked at, most of them were out of stock. Now, whether that means they've discontinued this or whether they don't hold stock of it anymore, I do not know, guys. But I did struggle to find anywhere that had them in stock. But I believe that Airsoft GI did. So if you did want one, they were $180 there. If you're in Europe, that's the only other place I could find that had a supply of these. Here in the UK, if you're one of my UK viewers, here in the UK, I could not find anywhere that had stock of this, anywhere in the UK. So if you know anywhere that has them in stock, let me know in the comments, guys. But I couldn't find one of these for sale anywhere in the UK apart from on the pre-owned market. But if you're in Europe, you can get one of these for between 150 euros and 170 euros. Again, I'm not going to link it. If you want one of these, the prices vary wildly between 150, 170 euros. So you should be able to find one in that kind of price range. But again, they're all over the place. But if you're in the States, you can definitely get one for $180. But some of the suppliers that were out of stock have been selling them at $106, which is very affordable. So that's your pricings, guys. As you can probably agree, that's really cheap for a gas blowback rifle. Now obviously with your money you aren't going to get one of these red dot sights. That has been added on by me, that's been added on by the friend of mine that I bought it off, as has the side mount. It's just a standard dovetail mount on the side that you get with a lot of AK and Soviet weapons like the SVD, the AK47. That side dovetail mount, basically you get a clamp mount like this that clamps on, which gives you a bit of 20mm rail on the top, so you can mount red dots and accessories on there. Otherwise you would be stuck with the open sights. Let's just get rid of this magazine here, guys. It's making it awkward to move this around. Yeah, otherwise you'd be stuck there with the open sights. The replica does come with an adjustable open sights front and back, as you would normally find on standard AK fur. Now it's cheap, so let's look at the good bits first of all, shall we, guys? The first good bit is that it is really cheap, very affordable, not expensive, and you are getting a gas blowback, guys. Now I bought this one used. As I say, I bought it because I think the paint job that my friend did on it to make it look like it's been through the wars is pretty cool. It looks good in photos. I have never actually skirmished this, guys, and the reason being for that is I've test fired it a number of times out back on my own range, and it's very poor. Very inconsistent. Now there are ways around that. The vast majority of experience I have with this is attempting repairs on it to get it to a standard and usually failing, or from what I've read online from some of the communities and some of the successes and failures that people have had with these. But I think what we'll do is we'll stick with it as you would do if you were buying it. So what do you get? Well, you get the replica itself, and you get one CO2 magazine. It is CO2 compatible, guys. That's a standard magazine. Now I will tell you, these magazines are really heavy and they're not very cheap. I think they're around about probably $30, $35, something like that. Similar in British pounds if you were to get them over here. This replica, I have been reliably informed by a number of communities, and it will be sold as, that it is compatible with the WE AK74 magazines. Now I've read varying opinions on that. Some people say that you have to do a bit of filing on the feed lips to make the WE ones feed reliably in this. Other people have said they work fine. So you take your chances on that, guys. If you want to try out WE magazines, if you have one of these, people say they do work, but then I have seen a few other people that have said they don't work. But you can get the WELL ones. That is a WELL CO2 magazine. Again, plastic exterior, metal internals, with it being gas. Not the best build quality in the world, guys, but that is the magazine you get with it. This is the magazine I use for pictures, which is a green gas magazine. You can also get green gas magazines for them as well. This one leaks like a sieve, guys, and it always has. I've tried every repair you can think on it to stop it leaking, and I cannot stop it leaking. Problem with the CO2 magazines is there's going to be a lot of problems here, guys. I've tried to repair 3 of these because I have a number of them that came with it when I bought it second hand. And again, the seals are knackered. I've tried new O-rings on it. They don't work. Very often it vents straight from the get-go. Now that might be my inexperience with gas blowback. As I say, guys, disclaimer, I am not very experienced with gas blowback. But all the normal fixes that I would try with gas blowback pistols or anything that involves gas have not worked on these, and they are very leaky, very inconsistent. So yeah, not the best, guys, from my experience, that is, anyway. With regard to that then, so you get one CO2 magazine, which could be hit or miss, going from my experience. Other people on the communities again have said that sometimes they have leaky ones, sometimes they're fine, you know. You get the replica itself and a cleaning rod and the usuals if you buy one from new. So the replica itself is a mixture of metal, polymer, I think there is some aluminium in here as well. The actual receivers here, the upper lower receiver, they are metal. The outer barrel, the move that back here for you. The outer barrel, the flash hider, the sights, the gas tube, the rear sights, the charging handle, all metal, guys, all metal. Metal sling points. Probably wouldn't trust that sling point if I'm being completely honest with you guys. The front sling point, metal as well. All metal. So a lot of metal there. Your pistol grip, your handguard, your stock, they are polymer, guys. So they're the only polymer bits. So you would call this a full metal build. Everywhere it's supposed to be metal, it is metal. However, don't get too excited about the metal, guys, because the metal is seriously cheap pot metal. Quality control, from what I've read, is very hit or miss on this replica. So although you are getting metal, the metal is, it's a very cheap metal. It is pot metal. It will easily break. As for example here, this is the takedown lever for taking your handguard off. This handguard is loose because that's broke. I'm led to believe by my friend that got it from new that that broke very rapidly. I've read on the communities that that breaks, is very common to break just through normal use and skirmishing. So that's the first fault. So now the handguard, while tight there, if that twiddles, it will become loose. So be aware of that, guys. That's something that can break. With regard to the metals again, the stock that comes with this is folding. So you can fold the stock with the button on the side here. However, what I have been reading up on the communities is that you do not want to fire this replica with the stock folded in, because it has a nasty habit of blowing out the rear trunnion with the recoil, because of the cheap pot metals and because it cracks and fractures so easily, guys. So you are better leaving the stock folded out when you're firing. What I've also been told is that the front assembly can break under use because of the shock of the recoil and, again, the cheap pot metals. Other problems that people have is that the rear trunnion and the rear receiver break just through use. That's with the stock folded as well. There are guys online that have used these and they are so confident that the back is going to burst out that they end up putting sorbo pads or some sort of buffer spring mechanism in there to reduce the effect of the recoil. What they're basically saying is every time that slams back under use, it's hitting the back there, and that's going to cause it to fracture the rear trunnion and the metal on the lower receiver. You cannot get spurs for these, from what I can tell, because as I say, you can't really get this replica in the UK now. You might have more luck depending on where in the world you are, guys, but it is difficult to get spurs for this specific replica. That brings us on to the WE link as well again. From what I've read, this is effectively a WE clone. So a lot of the parts that will fit in a WE gas blowback AK74 should fit in this, guys. And there are a number of posts and forum posts and community posts on Reddit and things like that of guys that have had great success with these guys. So I know I'm saying how bad it is, but I'm looking from an affordable point of view. And if you're newer to the hobby, to the sport, to the game as it were, and you're fancying gas blowback, then what I'm trying to basically say with this is this maybe isn't the replica to go with, guys. It'd be worth spending a bit more, because these guys that have done these have a bit more machining knowledge and they've managed to make their WELL G74B functional and work okay for them. And by all accounts, some people have great success. It's more the quality control. From a shooting point of view, guys, some people have had these shooting great with good ranges and lifting heavy BBs with an effective hop. Other guys have said that they've had no success with them. I know that a lot of people who have success do change out the blowback unit and the feeding nozzle, and they change those out for the WELL items. So if you were looking at one of these as a cheap project, well, then maybe, guys. Now, that brings me on to shooting. I can't show you this shooting, guys, because this one is still being worked on by me. It don't work. The mags that I've got, they just vent. If I can get a mag that's full, I put it in the replica, charge the replica, get ready to fire. You maybe get one shot and then the gas is out. Which, as standard, if you buy one of these guys, it is going to be very gas inefficient. Most people that have them have claimed that the gas does not last long. You're lucky to get a whole magazine out of one gas fill. So that's something to remember as well, guys. It's not going well for it, is it? It's not going well. Well, anyway. So, as an AK74, if you're familiar with the platform AK74, just like the electric counterparts and the firearm version, you do have safe, which stops the charging handle going back. You do have semi and full auto, as with all AKs. So you've got those features there, which is good. And the full auto, when it does work, works. You can strip this replica down just like the real thing. You press the button at the back here, that removes your upper receiver. You can get to your bolt, your trigger, group, everything. All fully stripped downable, just like the real thing. There are instructions online where people have stripped these down, and it's not difficult, guys, to strip this down. In many ways, these are a lot easier to strip down than an AEG version. Less parts to remove, but again, there's not much to see on this one, guys. For me, this has become a wall hanger. I did intend to use it in game, but it's so terrible that I didn't. So it has been fired, but since then it just doesn't work. I've tried grease oil, I've tried stripping it down, I've tried replacing parts with WE parts, guys, and I've not had a lot of success with that. So the upshot is, guys, this is the only AK variant that I own as well, which I know sounds bad, but it's because, as many of you know me or follow the channel, know that I have a bit of a thing for AR pattern replicas. However, I am thinking of getting an AEG AK replica, because it's about time I had one in my collection. If you guys can recommend a good AK, at the moment I'm liking the 74U, because I like that small form factor. So I mean, that's the one I'm looking at by Cyma. If any of you guys have experience with a good AK AEG platform, then do let me know in the comments, guys. I'll always respond to a comment. I might not get back to you straight away, but I will respond. And maybe could do with some advice on that one, with me not being very experienced with the AK variants. Give me a recommendation, guys, and I'll see if I can get one in here, and then we can do a review of it together. So, as for this WELL G74B, I know it just seems like I've just been having a go at it, but ultimately it is a gas blowback AK74 replica. You can get it very cheap, it's not expensive, but as with many things that, you know, I don't always agree with in Airsoft. I don't think you always get what you pay for in Airsoft, but in this, you do get what you pay for. This gas blowback replica is cheap for a reason. The quality control is poor. If you're lucky, you might get a good one. If you're unlucky, you're going to get one that could just basically self-destroy itself, and the rear trunnion is going to blow out, the receiver's going to crack, you're going to end up with bits falling off. I mean, the general build quality, guys, you can tell everything is loose, nothing is tight, it's all loose. I've tried getting things tight on it, and you know, the stock's loose. Everything on it, guys, is pretty much loose. There's nothing that's tight on it. It's just badly made, guys. It's not, for me, it's not a good replica. I certainly wouldn't recommend it unless you're knowing what you're doing with gas blowback and you just fancy getting one for the laugh and doing it up and turning it into a proper sleeper beast. I mean, as I say, it certainly looks the part. It looks very cool. For use in the field as well, another thing to be aware of, guys, it's really, really, really heavy. It's not light, it's properly heavy. I think it's listed as 3.8 kilos. So if you're a younger player or you don't like carrying a lot of weight in the field, it is really heavy. The magazines alone are massively heavy as well. So again, the cost wise, you're going to go through a lot of gas with this, guys. Here in the Highlands in winter, this is just totally impractical. It's not going to work at all. You're lucky if you get half a magazine. My friend did use this in the field. He had some success with it. He thought it was all right. But me personally, not something I would skirmish. I might come back to it and do a bit more work on it. But ultimately for me, this is cheap. and it's cheap for a reason, which normally I like affordable things here on Rock Bottom Airsoft, but this is one of those things that is cheap for a reason. It's cheaply made, cheap components, and you're taking a bit of a lottery on as to whether you're going to get a good one. So there you go, guys. That's my little bit of a look at the WELL G74B, a really cheap gas blowback AK. We've had a look at it, like I say, because one of my followers over on Facebook was interested in it because he kept seeing it in my pictures and wanted to know what it was. So that's what it is, guys. That's why you've never seen it in the field. That's why I've never really done a full review of it. But if you do fancy one of these, I say there's loads of community posts where people have had a go with these from quite a few years ago, some of them, and some of the mods they've done to make them work reliably. And again, you know, if you are wanting a really cheap gas blowback rifle, this is certainly a gas blowback rifle, full travel bolt, you know, the whole 9 yards, guys. It is a proper gas blowback rifle, full metal. So, I mean, you are getting that, guys. Don't let me knock that out of there. You are getting a full gas blowback rifle for a very affordable price. It's just, for me, I'd rather have an AEG one, because this one is just slowly falling to bits, and that is just if you use it in the field. So if you were skirmishing this, yeah, I don't think it's going to last you very long unless you get lucky on the quality control lottery. So there you go, guys, the WELL G74B gas blowback rifle that I use in a lot of my photos. I hope you enjoyed that video, guys, that midweek video. I hope you enjoyed a look at this. As always, if you have been enjoying my series of videos, then do please get subscribed to the channel. If you like this video, drop a like on it, it helps me out. As I mentioned in the weekend video, I am still looking to give away the Feiachi RS30 sight that we looked at. So I said about 2 weeks, so by this time next week, I should have had a look through my list of subscribers. One of you guys, I'll pick you out at random. I'll send you a message if it's your name that comes up, and we'll get that sight sent out for you. As I say, not a competition around, just my appreciation, and if you actually let me send it, so we'll get that sent out. If you've got any comments about this video, if you've had one of these, if you've experienced it, if it worked well for you, if you really like it, let me know in the comments, guys. I'd love to know if anybody else has had one of these, if they've found the same as me, or if they've had loads of success with it. It'd be good for the rest of us to know as well. So let me know in the comments, guys, and we can have a chat about that. But apart from that, guys, I really hope you enjoyed it. Thanks very much for watching, and I will look forward to seeing you in the next one.